Welcome to Anderson English. I'm just going to go over Macbeth Act 1, Scene 1. I'm assuming you've already read it, so this is just a quick revision with some annotation. So the first thing is that it starts or is set in a desolate place, and the key word there is desolate, which means it's remote. And in terms of the significance of that, well, if you think about meeting people, if you want to meet someone to maybe discuss something secretive or illegal, you would do it where no one else can see. So that suggests that these witches are secretive. Another word might be that they are deceptive. But we get the sense that they aren't here to do good from the fact they meet in such a remote location. Then we have the fact that it is stormy weather, essentially. So it's thunder and lightning. It's tumultuous is a good word to use to describe that. Storms are fraught with danger. So I'll put tumultuous. And then we enter three witches. And the first witch says, "When shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain?" And what you have here is that they exhibit their first power. Is that they plan for the next time for them to meet, they can, number one, they're going to control the weather. And we know that James I was particularly paranoid about witches. He wrote the book Demonology. So that's one of the first powers they exhibit. And the weather they agree to meet in is associated with negativity, thunder, lightning, and rain. And then it says, second witch says, "When the hurly-burly's done," so when all the action is finished, they're going to meet, when the battle's lost and won. And what's interesting about the language that's used here is that makes sense really when you think about it, because someone loses a battle and someone wins the battle. But she says when the battle is lost and won. So when the battle is done, but it's the oppositional language that they use here, winning and losing, this sort of paradoxical, contrasting language is part of their idiom. So yeah, so I mean it's lost and won. That's a bit oxymoronic or paradoxical, however you want to express that. They both make sense. Okay, the third witch says that will be before the setting of the sun. Ear means before sunset. So they know the time, they know when it's going to happen. So you're getting a sense here, and they're going to do it here, we're talking about Here to Meet Macbeth, that they can also see into the future. And that would be their second power that they exhibit in this scene. Okay, see future. They are prescient. A bit beyond prescient though, but yes, they can see into the future is the most important thing that you need to know. That will be before the set of the sun. Where the place? Where shall we meet? Upon the heath. There to meet with Macbeth, so again, seeing the future. So they're arranging to meet essentially. First witch then says, "I come, Grey Malkin," because she's heard her cat calling in the background. And Grey Malkin, Grey Cat, otherwise known as a familiar. And this is what people at the time thought was the way in which the devil or demons took shape. Like they thought the witches had a kind of demon that was with them all the time, and they felt that it took the form of an animal near them. That's where the kind of superstition about black cats comes from. But again, power number 3, able to communicate with animals. So can talk to animals. And then Paddock calls. The second witch, her toad calls. And she says, "I'm come straight away." Anon means straight away. And then we have this rhythmic chanting at the end. Fair is foul, and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. So again, we talked about the kind of weather in which they congregate, and we have words like fog and filth. And then power number 4 is quite straightforward. It's what we associate with them and their brooms. They can fly. And then here, I think worth noting, which I've already highlighted, is the fact that they speak in this. So they have they begin with rhyming couplets. Where to meet again, again and rain, done one, sun. So you have these rhyming couplets, and then they end in a couplet, fair and air. So you have this sort of rhythm set by them, almost like chanting. And the last thing is that they have this formula, a bit like when Bruce Forsyth says, "Nice to see you, nice," and it's called chiasmus. And they have this reversal order that they use, and it links in quite nicely with their kind of paradoxical, never quite knowing where they stand. Fair is foul, so beautiful is ugly, and ugly is beautiful. They talk about battles being lost and won. These oppositional devices link in with the ambiguity that surrounds these characters. So even though it's a really short scene, it's really, really interesting. There's so much to be said. And the last point I want to make is that when Macbeth first walks in, this line here, fair is foul and foul is fair, links in quite nicely with what he says. And I will cover that when I get to, I think it's Act 1, Scene 3. So, I hope this video has been useful. If it has, then please subscribe. That's where to contact me on Twitter, and give it a thumbs up. See you soon.